Well, hi there, and welcome to the Sovereign CEO podcast, where we talk about how to set up your own location-independent business, move to a less bad country, or at least set up an international backup plan, and do all these things for less money. And if you weren't aware, I have another podcast I also do once a week, just like this podcast, called the Alpha Male 2.0 podcast. If you're a man, we discuss masculine lifestyle, long-term masculine freedom. That's actually my bigger business. And if you want to subscribe to that podcast, you just go to alphamale20.com and click podcast, and you can subscribe to all the usual podcast platforms over there. Also, if you are listening to this podcast, you may or may not be aware, I do a video version of this podcast at YouTube and all the alt tech platforms like Rumble, Odyssey, and etc. And if you're interested in watching the video version of this, you can go to alphamale20.com/links. Those are links to literally everything I have in both of my online businesses. And you can follow the links there to all my YouTube channels, all my other video channels as well. Today, I'm going to tell you the number one, so we slightly lied in the title. So the title implies the number one thing that business owners do wrong to stay small. Frankly, the number one thing that business owners do to not make the money they could make is lack of marketing. They don't market. Okay, that's the number one thing. Today, I'm going to talk about the number two thing. Okay, because the number one thing is they don't market. Right? They think it's too expensive, or they don't know how to do it, or they're lazy, or they're scared, or they make a bunch of excuses. Marketing, excuse me, I went to college, okay? I don't write copy, okay? That's scammy shit. I'm not like Grant Cardone and Dan Locke. I'm not a scammer like that. So they don't market and they go out of business, okay? That's the number one thing that businesses do wrong. I'm telling you this as a business consultant with 25 years of experience, working with literally hundreds of companies of all sizes. The number one reason businesses don't make the money they should make and or go out of business because they don't market enough. And I've talked about that a lot. I am now going to give you the second reason why business owners, particularly Alpha 2.0 business owners, the Alpha 2.0 business model we talked about here at Sovereign CEO, where you have your own business, where you make at least $85,000 a year or more in US dollars or that equivalent in pre-tax net profit, okay? And this is what they do wrong when they can make a hell of a lot more money without even increasing their hours. Actually, in many cases, they can reduce their hours. They can make more money on less hours, because I've done this several times throughout my life. If you've read my book, The Unchained Man, at alphamalebook.com, I tell that whole story. But anyway, this is what they do. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying that if you honestly tell me you only want to make the Sovereign CEO minimum of $85,000 a year, okay? That's in American dollars or the American dollar equivalent, pre-tax net income. That is net profit from your business before you pay taxes, okay? And you say to me, look, you know what? That's all I need. I'm good. I want to make $85,000. I'm good to go. I don't need anything else. Thank you very much. That's it. I'm good. I'm set for life. If that is honestly how you feel, that is perfectly fine. And this thing I'm about to talk about may not apply to you. It still applies to you, but not nearly as much. But if you want to make more than $85,000 a year, okay? I would be at poverty level if I only made $85,000 a year. I'd be freaking out if I made only $85,000. I haven't made that small amount in I don't remember when. But anyway, if you want to make more than that, this is the biggest thing you're doing wrong, other than marketing. Okay, and this is a conversation I've had with many of you in my audience, people I have coached, some people in our coaching programs, guys who write in on Instagram, or make comments on YouTube, or write in our email. And here it is. You ready for this? You refuse to outsource, or you refuse to outsource enough because you think several things. Here are the thoughts. The first thought is, no one can do it except me. Okay, Caleb, you don't understand. I've heard every excuse. Caleb, you don't understand. What I do is highly technical and very niched. And so no one else on the entire planet Earth can do what I do. Okay, I'm the only one who can do it. Okay, I can't just outsource it and give someone else can't just do this. I would have to train them for 27 years. Okay, and then maybe they could do it. Okay, now 98% of the time that's bullshit. When they actually sit down to describe me what they do, I'm like, that's not true. You could hire someone else to do that. You have to pay a little money, but so what? Okay, so it's bullshit. Now, 100% of the time, even if you're right, and you're probably not right, okay, but even if you're right, you can outsource aspects of that process. So if you're talking about a very sophisticated technical niche process that no one else in the world knows except you because you're different. If you sat down and listed out all the steps and all the procedures you do to do that thing, If I sat with you with a clipboard and we went through the whole process, we reverse engineered the entire thing, I promise you, there would be aspects of what you do that you could outsource. Maybe 25% of it, 30% of it, 40% of it, maybe even 60% of it or more that you could outsource. So instead of spending, let's say 25 hours a week on it, you could spend maybe 15 hours a week on it. Great. You can outsource it and or you can outsource aspects of it. I have never heard, this is a true story now, okay, this is true. I have never heard of, Caleb, I can't outsource this because I'm the only person on those that do it. Anyone saying that excuse that didn't fall in one of those two categories. Either they were just flat out wrong, the vast majority, flat out wrong, you can outsource it, often for cheaper than you think, okay? And maybe you would need to outsource it to 2 people instead of 1. Maybe sometimes the scenario is you can't outsource it to 1 person, but you can outsource it to 2 or 3 and still take that off your plate and make more money by focusing on IW work, which is improvement work. Okay. Or in rare cases, you can outsource a percentage of it to someone who is knowledgeable in that area, but isn't quite as good as you. They can do a percentage of it and take that work off your plate. And by the way, I should backtrack. The reason outsourcing is critical to your long-term income is because if you're doing all this goddamn work yourself, you will never spend the time to do what's necessary in terms of what I call IW work. That's work that actually increases the income of your business. Most work that you're doing as a business owner is standard work. That is work that maintains the business, like checking your email, servicing your existing clients and customers. It's work you have to do, but it doesn't grow your business. What grows your business are 2 things: marketing, specifically new marketing if you're already marketing, and innovation, new products, services, or information that you can sell to your niche, okay? Developing those things. And if you're busy doing a bunch of grunt work because you won't outsource it because only I know how to do this, you'll never get to the point where you could do that work and increase your income, okay? See how terrible this is? Also, you'll never get to the point where you could work less hours because for years I've been teaching a model where you work less hours and make more money. This is how you do it, by outsourcing, okay? So that's the first excuse. The next excuse is fear. Well, Caleb, if I hire someone to do my social media, they'll have all my passwords. What if they go onto my social media account and post a bunch of porn and get me banned off all the social media platforms? All these bullshit scenarios that I've literally never seen happen. By the way, that scenario, I've had people say this, multiple people say this to me. I have never seen that happen. Maybe somewhere in the world it's happened at some point. I have never seen, honestly now, I have never seen anyone who I've taught these concepts to, who follows my content in my audience, thousands and thousands of people over the past, 14, 15 years, okay? I've never seen someone where they outsource their social media, which is, by the way, one of the first things you should outsource if you're on social media. They outsource their social media, and the person they outsource to puts a bunch of, Nazi swastikas or a bunch of nudity and gets them banned. No. Well, what if they do this and that? What if they post something bad? And, oh, no. Dude, you got to get over it. Number 1, the odds of this occurring are very, 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 very low. Number 2, will people you outsource to make errors? Yes. Will these errors sometimes be public? Yes. It's happened to me. I've had people I've outsourced to post the wrong blog post where we do like a series of blog posts. They post the wrong post and everyone on my blog is like, what the hell is this? Okay, I've had that happen. I've had people post the wrong videos to my YouTube channel, okay? I've had people post mistakes in my content that should have been caught and taken out. That does happen. Guess what? No one cares, okay? You continue to make money. I make more money every year than the previous year with rare exceptions. It doesn't matter, even when people are making mistakes. Yes, human beings make mistakes. It doesn't fucking matter. Sometimes I make mistakes. I've made errors. So that's the other aspect of this too is, these people who make this excuse, well, if I outsource it, they'll fuck it up. As if you never fuck it up. You make all kinds of goddamn mistakes too. But for some reason, it's emotionally acceptable for you to fuck up and look like an idiot in front of the whole world. But if you outsource it and they fuck up and make you look like an idiot, that's unacceptable. No, mistakes happen. It's part of business and it's okay. I've talked about this many times. I'm not going to harp on this because I've done so many podcasts and videos on this specific topic here. But I appeal to a higher IQ audience, and the problem with smart people is that they don't ever want to make any mistakes because they were taught incorrectly by society. You need to get an A+ on your report card or you're a fucking loser. And that's not how the real world works. The real world is messy. You make money by making lots and lots and lots of mistakes. If you have followed my content for many years, you have seen me personally and sometimes my staff make mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake, yet my income grows and grows and grows every year. Today, I make more money than I ever planned on making. My annual income today is far, far beyond my biggest financial goal I ever set. Yet I make mistakes all the time, and sometimes the people I outsource to make mistakes. Less often now. Before they made more because I work with higher quality people now. But yes, it doesn't matter. You'll still make a lot of money. It's okay. You've got to be okay with making mistakes. You've got to be okay with the reality that your team will sometimes make mistakes too. And if you're one of these really smart, low-income anal guys who says, I could never have a mistake ever, and if I have to make $32,000 for the rest of my life, to never make a mistake, then God damn it, that's the way it's going to be. Well, you're fucked because the Western world's collapsing, bro, and your income ain't going to cut it. My audience is full of very smart, low-income guys who won't take the actions necessary to save themselves. I've talked about that before too. I'm not going to go back on that topic, but you know what I'm saying. It is also true that the people you outsource these functions to in many respects are going to do it worse than you did, depending on the item. Now, if you have a highly technical business, you're doing something highly technical and you bring in people, other technical people to help you, those technical people are not going to do it as well as you. That's true. That's accurate. Okay, fine. However, many times you outsource things, they will do it better than you. Many years ago, I outsourced all of my email, and it was like a big step for me. I wrote a big blog article about it at the time. It was years ago. And I said, oh my God, I've just outsourced all my email. I'm super nervous about it, but I like money. And I want to make more money, so I don't make bullshit excuses and I don't act like a pussy and say, well, I don't want to outsource anything because they might fuck up. No, I went ahead and outsourced my email, and boy, was it a great decision. And today my email is far more efficient and far more effective now that I'm not doing it. It is handled better than I ever handled it because these people do it better than me. So often when you outsource, especially things like admin functions, technical functions, website functions, things like that, these people do it better than you. I've made this analogy before. This isn't true today, but this was true for many years for me. I could, years ago, prepare my own tax return. I could do it because I read a lot of books on taxes, and I could actually prepare my own business tax return. I could do it. I could do it. Now, here's the problem, and I've said this before. If I did my own tax return, it would take me maybe quadruple or 5x the amount of time, and there'd be problems and errors with it. But I could do it. Or I could whip out a few $1,000s in my case, give it to someone who does tax returns for a living. They do it in just a few hours and there are no errors and mistakes. And I don't have to take the 20 hours, 30 hours, 40 hours of fucking around with my tax return. I can let them do it and I can use that freed up time, 20, 30, 40 hours, however long it would take me to build my business and make more money. Years ago, when I was an IT consultant, okay, I ran into 2 or 3 business owners like this. I was working with smaller companies back then, and I would run into these business owners who the owner of the company, okay, maybe this small company of 18 employees, okay, in a building, okay, not an Alpha 2.0 business at all, a location dependent, typical brick and mortar business. He's the owner of the business, he's the president, and he's got 17 employees or what have you, and a bunch of offices and cubicles, things like that. And he actually fixed all of his own computer problems because he had a kind of a tech background and he was a tech hobbyist when he was in high school. So he was the IT guy in the business. So anytime one of his employees had an IT problem, they would call the president of the company and he would stop what he was doing. Oh my God, what an idiot this guy was. And there was 2 or 3 other guys like this. He would stop what he was doing, or he'd have a ticket system, all right? He'd send him an email and then he would stay after work and he would go to the, Sally's computer and try to figure out what's wrong. And if he couldn't figure it out, he would call Microsoft. What they had back then, maybe they still have this, priority support, where you would pay $250 to Microsoft with a credit card. And that would allow you to get to a tech support person who would stay on you with the phone as long as it took, even if it was several phone calls, and they wouldn't close the ticket until the problem was fixed. And he would just pay for that every time. And he goes, yeah, I just do that instead of paying for an IT consultant. I do it myself. If I have a problem, I get on the phone with Microsoft, I pay the $250, and I just, I bumble through it. Morons. The owner of the business should be out expanding the business and making more money for the business and or working on areas in which he can reduce his work hours, not increase his work hours. Stupid. Now, you might say, well, that guy's an idiot. Yeah, but you're doing the same thing when you said, well, I can't outsource it because only I can do it. Well, I can't outsource it because they might do X, Y, and Z. You're just as stupid when you say these kinds of things. You're just as dumb. And it's not just business owners who do the computers. Some business owners do their own tax work. Stupid. Some business owners manage their own email. Stupid. Some business owners manage their own admin work. They do a lot of bullshit admin work they shouldn't be doing, or database work. Stupid. If you're the owner of the business, you have one job. Expand that business to reach your income goals. That's your job. And again, if all you want to make is $85,000 a year, maybe you can get away with not outsourcing anything or outsourcing very little. Maybe you can't. Maybe. Okay. You want to make any more than that, you're going to have to suck it up, get some balls, be a man or a strong woman. If you're watching this and you're a woman, that's fine. And outsource your shit. Stop making excuses. This is what keeps small business owners small. Number one, lack of marketing. But number two, and in many respects, it's actually a bigger problem for lots of business owners, they won't outsource what they need to outsource. Your job as a business owner is to array your week. And I'm always working on this constantly. And if you know my content, if you watch my stuff for many years, you know how often I talk about this for myself. Your job your goal, I should say, is to array your work week as a business owner to make sure the maximum amount of time in that week is spent in IW tasks that actually grow the business. That would mean either marketing or innovation. Those are the only two ways in which you can actually increase a business. Peter Drucker said this, 30 years ago, and he's right. The only way businesses actually make money is marketing and innovation. Everything else is a cost. Everything else is an expense. Right, that's true. So you need to maximize the amount of hours you spend in terms of your work hours in IW instead of SW, which is checking your own email and doing client work and fucking with your website. Other people should be doing that so you can grow your business and hit your income goals. And you will never hit your income goals. You will stay small forever if you have this attitude that I don't want to outsource because I do it better than everyone else, or people might make mistakes, or I can't trust other people, or whatever the fuck your excuses are. If you own a small business right now, even if it's not an Alpha 2.0 business, even if it's a brick and mortar business, I wish you didn't, but okay, let's say you do. And certainly if you have an Alpha 2.0 business now, someone you're getting started with that is actually making money, remember what I just said. You need to do some hard thinking. Where can I outsource my own work, even though, yes, I have to train them, which is a pain in the ass. Even though, yes, they might not do it right. Even though, yes, they might make mistakes. Even though, yes, I may be emotionally uncomfortable letting go of those functions, especially if you're more of an alpha male 1.0 type guy and you want to control everything. You have to let that shit go if you want the big money. Can you imagine Steve Jobs being down on the loading dock, boxing up Macintoshes back in the 80s or 90s and getting them on the truck because he didn't want to outsource that? Can you imagine that? Now, obviously, you don't need to be Steve Jobs. That's an extreme example, but you get my point. If you want to make more than $85,000 a year, you're going to have to outsource. Suck it up and do it. I know it doesn't feel right. Just do it. I will see you in the next podcast. Have fun. Bye.